Welcome to the Roadmap to Secure Love. In today's episode, Kim and Kyle discuss how owning your moves breaks negative cycles and builds stronger, more connected relationships. Let's dive in.
So Kim and I want to talk about this concept of owning your moves in the negative cycle. We've talked about in past episodes how a lot of the times when couples feel stuck, when they feel more like enemies than allies, it's because they get caught in a negative cycle of disconnection and conflict. Why it's so important to own our moves is because when we do our personal work within the relationship, we have a chance, even as an individual, to change that negative dance between us to build a better and more secure relationship. That's really powerful. It's really important, but it's also super hard to do. Kim, can you talk about why it's so hard to do that?
It is so hard to own our moves, right? Because if I say, and let's talk before we go there, Kyle, could we just say, what does it mean to own our moves?
Yeah,
Own
let's talk
our
about that.
moves is something like, I'm getting louder, or I'm feeling like I need to yell because I'm not being heard.
Mhm.
I'm withdrawing because I'm feeling like no matter what I do, it's not enough. Okay. Owning our moves means that the behaviors that I am doing,
Mhm.
I'm going to own. And I'm going to be able to talk about why they're there. Okay. So if I'm yelling, I'm going to say, I'm yelling. And it is because I'm feeling unheard. And how you get out of that cycle, Kyle, is then you say, I'm feeling unheard. Can you help me?
Mhm.
Right? All behavior makes sense. Me yelling or me withdrawing makes sense.
Mhm.
But how to create connection, I've got to own that. I'm yelling, I'm withdrawing
Mhm.
because I don't feel heard or I don't feel good enough. Can you help me?
Mhm.
Owning that move gets us out of the blame game. That it's your fault that I'm yelling.
Mhm.
Okay. And it begins to own my own experience. And as long as you and I, or in any kind of relationship where we're in opposite islands fighting each other, we're never going to beat the cycle. But if we're on the same island fighting the disconnection, we can.
Mhm.
It's really difficult, though, to own our moves because when I do that, I think, oh my gosh, I yelled or I withdrew. I'm a horrible person. They're going to think it's all my fault. They're going to think that this conflict is totally me. And if it is totally me, then I'm a monster. I'm this awful, awful person. They're right. I'm not good enough. And so that fear in itself will stop me.
It'll get in the way of you owning your moves because you use the moves to try to get connection. You use the moves to try to feel safe and secure. Often that's not as clear to your partner because when you get louder, they might focus more on the tone than the words. Or if you withdraw, your partner might not know why you're withdrawing. It's not clear to them. But there's a reason we do that, as Kim said. And to own that, oh, I have that urge to yell because I'm not being heard or I'm being missed right now is a lot more vulnerable, and it's owning what we want to do or the move we typically do in the cycle. But yeah, it puts us in a place of vulnerability, puts us in a position where our partner might react to that and go, well, yeah, your yelling is the whole reason we have this problem. And that in itself misses the problem, which is the cycle. When our attachment needs are not met, when we're not getting connected with, we will use all types of strategies to try to get safety and connection. That's why Kim and I talk about all behavior makes sense, because underneath the strategies is the need for safety, security, and a secure attachment. Kim, can you talk a little bit more, and now that we've kind of explored that on, again, kind of what makes it so hard, and particularly in those moments of the cycle?
Mhm.
own our moves and do it a little differently.
Number one, it's because usually we're escalated. Okay, we're really, really escalated. And so to calm our nervous system in order to kind of like say, like, okay, I don't have to do what I normally do is really hard. The second thing is it's really hard to know what we're feeling in the moment. We think that it would be super easy, but it's not. It's really hard to know what are we actually feeling and to slowing down. Um, and Kyle, you have a wonderful way of saying it. There's protection strategies
Mhm.
and there's connection strategies. And we want the connection ones, but sometimes the protective ones
Mhm.
bop up. What are those, Kyle? What are those
Yeah.
protection strategies?
So there's a lot of times when you nerd out on the research of attachment theory, you figure out that we all have strategies to try to get connection or protect ourselves. And so it's really important in insecure relationships or when we have an insecure cycle, we're often using more protection strategies. How do I keep myself safe? How do I get what my needs met? Are I'm really fighting for myself because I'm scared underneath the protection that if I just reach for a connection, it won't matter. And so my protection strategy of getting louder, my protection strategy of shutting down and not telling you what's going on feels a lot safer, maybe even more familiar than it is to be vulnerable and take that risk. The problem with protection strategies is it causes us to armor up and our partner doesn't see our heart. What they see is our armor and they go, oh, they're armored up. Now we must be in war. Now we must be in battle. So I better armor up too. If they're going to get louder, I better shut down. If they're going to blame me, I'm going to blame them. And all of a sudden, there's our negative cycle that keeps us stuck in a place of disconnection. So again, protection strategies is our learned attempt, our best move at the time to try to get safety, security, and connection. But often it causes both partners to armor up and get further into disconnection. Does that make sense, Kim?
Yeah, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you ready? What happens if I don't armor up, but my partner stays armored up and they start attacking back? And here I am being vulnerable,
Mhm.
like I'm supposed to be,
Mhm.
and my partner's using it as a weapon. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Well, you're going to probably notice the urge to protect yourself.
Oh, I so want to put back on my armor.
Mhm. Mhm. And that makes a lot of sense, right? Because you're feeling like you're being labeled the problem. You feel like you're now being here. I just put my heart on a platter and you just stabbed it. I don't want to be soft anymore. I don't want to be vulnerable anymore because I already got hurt. That makes a lot of sense that we would want to then protect ourselves. The problem is when we're both in protection, we have escalation. And so while it might feel good in the moment to armor up and lash back out, attack back, we're more likely to have more damage and destruction between us than it is to slow that down and do something different. So Kim, what are the things that someone can do in those moments where they've taken that risk to maybe do more of a connecting strategy? They've understood their move. Instead of protecting themselves, they're now reaching more for connection, using more of a connection strategy, which is a lot more vulnerable, a lot more risky, and yet they get protection back and they get kind of hurt when they've just taken that risk. How can they cope with that and do that if
Oh, go ahead. I just interrupted you because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I got flooded there for a moment because it's hard, right? And you're going to feel that way when you're trying to be soft to your partner and they're still armored up. So, one of the things that I say, or I try to do, or I encourage my clients to do is say, how the cycle's the enemy, not each other.
Mhm.
Can we do this moment differently?
Mhm.
You might say, I'm for you. I'm for us. Can we do this moment differently? You might want to say, ouch, that hurt. I don't want to continue this the way it's going now. Can
Mhm.
we do this moment differently? Right? It's about inviting each other
Mhm.
to do that dance that we're in, that cycle differently.
Mhm.
And so, Gottman would talk about, taking breaks and coming back, and those all work too. With the understanding is that there's always an invitation, right? I'm going to take a 5-minute break and then I'll come back. Is that okay? Right? Never leaving it hanging.
Mhm.
Those are some of the connection exercise that I find is super, super helpful
Mhm.
when you're vulnerable and your partner is still armored up.
And so here's what's so important is even in that moment when you take that risk and it doesn't go so well, you can self-soothe enough to go, okay, here's an invitation. Here's our cycle. Here's our pattern. Not blaming you. I know there's something between us that feels invisible right now, but there's something between us that's getting in the way of us being connected and being intimate allies.
Mm,
And then we can invite our partner into, can we do this differently? Because again, a lot of protection strategies are reactive strategies. Something happens in us, we react, and it happens like that. And so sometimes I react, and it's helpful for my spouse to go, ouch, or that didn't land so well.
mm.
Ooh, okay. I let me retry that again. Right. And so this is what's so important is in those moments is if you take that risk and you get some protection or you get some pokiness back and it hurts. You can say, ouch. You can say, oh, this is our cycle. Let's do this differently. That is all inviting your partner into vulnerability with you. That is inviting them into connection. And like Kim said, you might need a 20-minute break to go self soothe before you two talk about it, which is healthy, normal, and okay. But the point overall is how do we come back and not let this sweep under the rug? How do we come back and come into connection?
You know what's seems so difficult about this?
Right.
It just seems so impossible when you think about, or when I think about how I was raised, how I saw communication occur. And I know I'm not alone to feel like people talk like this, you know, um, and so we have to relearn it. We have to be vulnerable and dare to communicate differently
Mhm.
than we've ever seen or experienced
Mhm.
in order to get connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
if we haven't seen it, Kyle, ourselves, I think that if I was listening, I'd be like, whatever. They don't know what they're talking about. This is too difficult.
Mhm.
But
And
we've seen it.
we have. And that's what's so important. A lot of my clients, when we work more from seeing one, owning their moves, what their protection is, and then what's underneath that protection, right? Well, I shut down because I got this message that I was a terrible partner and I didn't want to make things worse. And they actually get to talk about that. Their partner's like, well, I had no idea you were feeling that bad.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, they have, even in that level of vulnerability, a little bit more connection than complete disconnection. And then the clients will say, even that was pretty foreign, different. And same with someone who might yell. Instead of kind of going, I'm getting louder and I need you to hear me. And I'm going to repeat myself again and again until you get the point. I'm actually going to let you in that I'm feeling really alone and worried that I don't matter. And I really want to be connected with. That is a lot harder to say and do than yelling.
So you're asking, and I'm asking, is for us to be courageous, to do something that's scary.
Yep.
Because what I really believe is that vulnerability is the richest soil to grow
Mhm.
secure attachment.
Yep. And here's what the thing with vulnerability, Brene Brown, who's done a lot of research on shame and vulnerability, talks about I look for vulnerability in you first before I show it to you. All of us are doing that.
Mm.
The thing is, one of the things that's really powerful for our relationships is really be the first to race to vulnerability. Try to get there first, not as a competition, but because it's the fertile soil for which your relationship can grow. And from an attachment sense, when we're able to really get clear on what goes on for us and what the deeper attachment fears, needs, and feelings are, we have a much better chance of communicating that message in a clear and direct way, which allows our partner to see our heart. And what's so powerful in our therapy sessions that Kim and I get to see is when someone reaches from that vulnerable place and talks about their need for a connection and brings their partner that, their partner's very often moving towards that with empathy, with connection, with compassion, with care. And they experience that positive feedback of being vulnerable and soft gets more of what I need than being armored up and big, I'm yelling, or armored up and pulled away.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing us say is that we have to own
Mhm.
that we're armored up
Mhm.
and what we want to do with that armor. Because then that gets us to invite our partner to do this moment differently.
Yep, exactly.
So we become vulnerable to build security. I
Mhm.
like it.
Yeah. And this is how we really start to change our relationship dynamics, right? We understand the difference between our protection strategies, our connection strategies. We understand how to own our moves and do that differently and reach more for connection, while also seeing that the cycle as the enemy, which again creates a safe place for us to be more vulnerable. Because if I see you as the problem or you see me as the problem, well, we're in battle, we're at war. But if something else is the problem and we can tag up against that, well, now we have something to fight for together, our
Mhm.
connection, our relationship, our love. And that makes it so much easier for us to dip into cultivating that fertile ground of vulnerability for love to flourish and grow, and for us to continue to protect that secure attachment together.
I like it. So let's fill our closet with, instead of protection armor, with connection armor or connection strategies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important to take off kind of some of that armor. It's we need the armor in the world, let's be honest. But I think the ideal
Go.
when we walk into our home, that we take that armor off, we put it in our hall closet or in our bedroom closet, and we walk around our home with vulnerability, with our skin kind of exposed in a way emotionally.
Mhm.
So that way, when something's going on, my partner gets to see me, they can comfort me, and I can do the same for them. And we get to cultivate in our home a safe place to be loved, supported, cared for, regardless of what we've experienced day to day.
Love it.
So, again, as we kind of finish this episode, we really want to understand the difference between protection strategies versus connection strategies. And Kim and I are actually going to attach a worksheet that kind of outlines some protection strategies versus connection strategies for both withdrawers and even pursuers. So that way it's a little bit more clear for you. Then we really want you to again see the cycle as the enemy. It's not you against me, it's us against that pattern.
Yes.
That's going to cultivate the ground for vulnerability.
And secure attachment. And I also want everybody to hear, like, there is growth and maybe not catching it in the moment,
Mhm.
But catching what we did 30 minutes later or the day after, and then coming back to our partner and saying, hey,
Mhm.
this is what I did and this is why I did. To me, that's growth.
It's huge.
It's growth because we haven't been taught, or at least I haven't been taught,
Mhm.
to know what we're feeling in the moment.
Yeah. And I think that I love that you invite that, right? We're not asking for perfection. We're asking for connection, right? And so you're not going to get it right in the moment. I still don't get it right in the moment.
Me neither.
And I still got to come back to my spouse, or even she has to come back to me and say, hey, like, yeah, I was a little defensive, and here's what was going on deeper. Oh, thanks for letting me into that. Or, hey, I was a little bit more closed off because I was feeling insecure that what felt important to me didn't matter.
Yeah.
And then my spouse and I get to have a much more vulnerable, connecting conversation. She gets heard, I get heard, and we feel like we're in it together. So again, not perfect in the moment. Yep, we have done that, but even after the fact, can still create that secure attachment. So thanks, Kim, for adding that.
Yeah. It's not about perfection. It's about connection.
Thank you for joining us on the roadmap to secure love. Today, Kim and Kyle shared invaluable insights. Here are the key takeaways. 1. Ownership of actions. 2. Embrace vulnerability. 3. Connection over protection. 4. End the blame game. And 5. Strategies for change. These steps are crucial for transforming conflict into collaboration within relationships. Be sure to apply these insights and join us next time as we continue to explore the paths to a secure, loving relationship. Until then, keep connecting vulnerably. Goodbye.